We are looking for Darko or Anita. Anyone? Gabi told me they were at the breakfast table. Wait. What's that? Okay, got it. They were at the yoga class. Where is Suzanne? They were at the yoga class?
Yeah, I just left them behind.
Or the networking lounge never ended? Guys, we had enough. Like, anyone has their number? WhatsApp? Uh-oh. That could be an option. Guys, we're going for the backup plan. The backup plan, okay? Okay. We're going for backup plan. Louder, a little bit louder.
Password correct. Access granted. Please join from backup. Initiating the simulation. Welcome home.
Good morning. How are you doing? I hope that you were having a good time in the academy so far and that you had a wonderful networking evening last night. As you can see in the event app, this morning we are moving forward in the exploration of the innovation in youth work. We hope that there is a lot of learning happening already and that we will have some great insights in the end. We are also happy to have students from several universities following the academy and more youth workers taking part online. This morning we will start the program with the panel discussion about youth work in the digital world with a rather provocative subtitle, Is the Core in Danger? So it is my pleasure to present the two speakers, Nerijus from Lithuania and Ajsa from Montenegro. Please give them a big applause. Nerijus is a trainer who has a particular passion for digital transformation and exploring digital possibilities for youth work. Ajsa is a youth worker and a trainer who works a lot for strengthening the political role and civic dimension in youth work. I am sure the two of them will provide a lot of good food for thought for you. Are you ready?
Oh, thank you, Charlotte. That was so lovely to have a backup when it's needed. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Oh,
Darko and Charlotte, right?
well, Charlotte, our third member. Good morning, Nerijus. Can you hear us, see us? We cannot hear you yet. Maybe? We should ask Charlotte to... Nerijus, do you have another Charlotte for you? Okay. Sound. Yeah. So before Nerijus actually gets how you say that? Audio on. As Charlotte said already, this morning we have planned to have a panel discussion, which is a little bit physical and a little bit digital, which in a way reflects the topic of the panel itself, which is youth work in the digital world, and subtitle is "The Core in Danger," whatever the core is. We'll explore that in a second with Nerijus and Ajsa. And you've been presented a little bit, but Nerijus and Ajsa will have a little bit more chance to present themselves and to see why we have chosen basically two of them to bring different perspectives on this important issue. Maybe just a little reminder, so for people who are following the Ray research, and Ray research is a research project, like a long project that is following what's going on in the Erasmus Plus program and beyond. In September 2020, when actually the pandemics hit hard, they did one special project called Ray Corona, or Ray Core. And in that findings, they've been looking about how youth work in Europe was affected by COVID pandemics. And some of the findings there, that across Europe, people would say that at least 70% of youth workers said at that time, so September 2020, they said that the COVID had a major effect on their practice, and 23% said it had a moderate effect on their practice. So you could say almost 93% would say it was affected, the practice was affected. Probably from the perspective of 2022, this sounds like obvious. And one quote was there, somebody said, everything has changed. All our structures, our framework, our support environment, our work, everything. So that was the perspective of September 2020 when it looked at everything changed in youth work. And they said that 35% of them said 1/3 of the activities we had to transfer online. 22% said
Okay, can you hear me?
1/3 and 2/3. 90% said more than 2/3, and 70% said we had to transfer everything online. So that's a reality, more or less, we've been living since 2020. But also to be completely honest, the whole youth work in the digital world didn't start with pandemics. And people who've been in the academy in 2019, they know actually there was already a lot of projects, experimentation about how to do youth work more digitally online. So I'm actually very happy that Nerijus is back, because Nerijus is actually one of the persons who is very passionate about digital transformation and doing lots of innovative work in the sphere of digital youth work and beyond. And Ajsa is also interesting on the other hand, because Ajsa was originally studying mathematics and programming, but then she shifted into peace building and civic activism. So we have quite a nice career change in this context. So we thought two of them will bring a lot of good perspective and insights about this topic, about youth work in digital world and is the core in danger. So good morning, Nerijus.
Good morning. Can you hear me right now?
Woo! So the idea is actually to give them a little bit, a little bit more chance to present yourselves. So perhaps Nerijus, we start with you, and then with Ajsa, and then we just follow the talk. What is important, actually, maybe just to show the Menti code, there will be a space for you to ask questions directly to Ajsa and Nerijus. Maybe Laimos, if you can share the Menti code. Yeah, so Menti code is 1515. You can also write down or scan 1515 8269. So keep it in mind, and we will need it a little bit later. So, but let's start. So Nerijus, maybe you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're thinking about the topic of today.
Yes, thank you. I got so used to Zoom, to my favorite background, to my favorite avatar appearance, that now I could only grab my mother's glasses to be animated more, right? And hopefully a bit more smart than I am usually. Yes. I'm Nerijus, and I'm some of you in the audience for sure you know me, and I work as a trainer, facilitator. Also, we run an NGO together with Lights, who is in backstage in this event, I heard. And I'm passionate about digital youth work and also about sci-fi. So often when we discuss what is new in youth work, what is new in how we reach out to young people and offer learning experiences, I always feel we can do more, because I read in some sci-fi books, they do incredible things. Yeah. So when I was invited to join this panel, one thing I thought, the title, Is the Core in Danger? I immediately thought about endangered species, which we kind of contribute with climate change. Already dinosaurs are gone, I heard. So for me, I don't see danger anywhere. I see opportunities, because maybe I'm biased, I'm passionate, and I really want to see positive. I want to go from problem solving to more solution-oriented thinking. Yeah. Few things when we speak about digital youth work. Before pandemic, it was great to receive an expert group work on defining digital youth work, researching, mapping what are the needs and practices of digital youth work across Europe, even before pandemic. And one of the things what they stated in the definition, that actually digital youth work is using proactively media and technology to address youth needs. I stress the proactively. I think sometimes we're too reactive on this. And one example was big pandemic. How many of us were taken by surprise and needed quickly to reinvent our services to young people, because I think at some point we a bit ignored, maybe didn't find time, didn't have resources to proactively use and address digital media in our practices. Yeah. Another response to this provocative title about endangerous of core, I think we need to speak about goals for digital youth work. And here, I think another definition from the same expert group comes. Digital youth work has the same goals, and just to remind, I made a print screen from Council of Europe web page about what are general goals and purposes for youth work, and often I would be inserting digital here and there in order to be able to show how we, for example, using digital technology can enable young people to do the things they want to do together and individually. So if young people want to play games, let's enable in youth work, because that's written in the goals of youth work. Yeah. If we want young people to explore and enjoy healthy and safe opportunities to spend leisure time, online often is portrayed as dangerous environment. So we need to create and balance online environments and spaces for safe enjoyment of free time. Yeah. So I think everywhere in these goals you can easily find where digital youth work can play a great role, and I think it's easy. And I'm bringing to this conversation a couple of thoughts, reflections, which I gathered throughout my participation, involvement in different activities, training activities, working with youth projects. I think one of the reflections we need to have is what does it mean to hold this space online where we don't have full control of that space. Today, you saw I couldn't control my voice, even though I shouted through screen. You couldn't hear me because I'm not fully in charge of the space I'm connecting to you. Yeah. Similar to be for youth workers. It's not anymore your cozy youth center where you know how things are running. Then you connect to different software platforms and so on. Moreover, many of these platforms are corporate productions. So again, new rules come in play. I would like also to address the question of how extreme do we go with digital youth work. Sometimes I heard arguments saying, I know that young person who really don't care, don't want to be involved and so on, and that's why as a youth center we don't have digital youth work. But I say, just for one person, I know a person doesn't have chances, but you cannot neglect 99% of potential beneficiaries of your youth work center. Or another extreme, oh, we do so much makerspace, so everyone needs to make makerspace everywhere. Yeah, that's another extreme. I think we should avoid extremes when we have conversations. Yeah. I want to also draw attention that our attitudes, digital literacies, often influence our choices for or against digital youth work. I think before making a decision, should we have or not digital youth work as a service, as a development in our organizations, we need to be sure that we know what we speak and what we believe. And more questions I want to bring. And here I stop and I give my colleague chance to introduce yourself and bring your questions.
It's funny how technology works. The moment you said about voice, your voice disappeared again for a second. It was lovely. So thanks a lot for the opening words and lots of questions that you brought. Probably some of them we will address today. Others probably we just leave to the people in the academy. So Ajsa, where are you coming from apart from Montenegro?
Well, actually, it's not from Montenegro, but from Yugoslavia, but that's another story. Hello, everyone. So my name is Ajsa, as you have heard, and actually, when I was invited for this panel, I was wondering why me? Because I'm no expert in digital youth work, and I cannot, let's say, bury that hat of digital with myself. So you can see that I actually then thought that resilience of the youth work and the core of youth work is something that I can talk about and something that I think I'm working on and trying to raise above the surface so that it's not just in the foundation of what we are doing and kind of understood, but never actually discussed and reflected. But before I get into that, maybe just to say a few words about me. Darko mentioned I started as a peace activist. During the 90s, there was war in Yugoslavia, and that pretty much defined where I found myself and what I found is important, because my personal experience was positive in a sense of people saving me and my family and kind of bringing humanity in the very extreme situation and conditions, and that's something that shaped also what I continue doing. So I started as a peace activist, then I discovered youth work, and then I became youth worker. Then I discovered kind of human rights and all the framework and concept that lays behind the things that I was feeling. So I became a human rights activist, or like I was having these different labels in my mind, but just one adding on the other. And then from youth work, as I was getting a bit older, I somehow got into the situation that okay, maybe something more is there. So I taught myself and went into direction of kind of facilitation of learning. So not just a youth work. I can't believe I said not just a youth work, because youth work is such a huge and such an important field of work, and also in my life, but kind of also specifying a little bit. For me it was important, so I became a learning facilitator, and then also discovering that again I'm missing something, so I became a civic activist in a sense that I was empowered, or I was working with young people, partnering with young people to empower them to have their voice and their activism out in the open, but then discovering that they are meeting closed doors or they are hitting the walls, and then it became important to also engage with civic parts of the story. And this is where discovering, for me, was the discovery that youth work we actually understand so much differently. And then to go to the question, and maybe we can move to the slide where, after introducing myself, exactly, that's done. We can see that the core of what I wanted to ask is really for all of us to go a bit deeper and see like what is the youth work that we are doing, what is in the core of the youth work. And for me, part of that story, and I'm not canceling anything else, but part of that story is really kind of engaging civic activism in young people, engaging their political agency, bringing it forward. And I think that's something that I want to bring into this discussion. Connected with that is this idea if then digital is endangering the core, because I would say that's even false dichotomy of looking at, digital is just another environment for me, even though I'm not specialist in that environment. It is another environment in which the core of what we are trying to do should be there. And you can see in this biggest circle that I'm putting, that's my core, the partnering and supporting young people, partnering with young person. And I think young people yesterday was also talking about that, so kind of partnering with them to figure out what kind of support they need. Part of that for me is really empowering political agency of young people, and then bringing this let me see if this works, yes, bringing this resilience. And then as Nerijus was bringing few questions, I'm always adding this action aspect, so I'm really not the one who will encourage only reflection, let's put it like that. So I really like that we reflect and that we have time sometimes to stop and look at what we are doing and kind of figure out what does that mean, make sense of it. But I'm always the one who will be impatient and looking for like, and what now? So what can we do about that? So this action in the brackets is actually where I put the emphasis in this slide. And the questions is coming back to this. I shared in the previous slide what is the core for me, but I think there needs to be more discussions. Maybe with this panel we start them, but there needs to be more discussions about the core of youth work. And then there are two things that are maybe even more connected to what you are trying to do through the academy. One is innovation then becoming a burden, or is it becoming a necessity? Or is it a burden or necessity? And why I'm mentioning burden is because sometimes when some concepts become trendy and sexy, if I dare say, they are everywhere, and that even in the project applications you can find now asking for innovation, and people are going crazy, like trying to figure out what the hell now is innovation and how to add it to my project, which is highly relevant to young people. And the same goes with another topic which I'm trying to push more, which is political. So is it a burden for young people, for us as youth workers, for us who are trying to do this, or is it really a necessity? Because how can we engage with the society? How can we shape the societies in the way that we want if we are not political? And one more question, which is a long one, that I think makes sense, and it's maybe connected also with this core that I'm discussing here, is which of these contemporary issues, but those that are really induced by digital or by online or by this environment, are the ones that young people are interested to deal with, are the ones that youth workers are kind of should enter into, and for which ones they need support. So not just, young people are interested in this, let's go there, but do they need our support to go there? And I specifically hear this question of digitally induced. I think that would be my focus if then the discussion allows what could be the areas in which we go. So not just moving to the digital environment, but actually which topics of the digital environment should we challenge and tackle. Thanks. I'm sorry if I
Thanks a
was
lot. Aisha, we have plenty of questions now. We can for a panel of probably half a day at least. But let's start. I mean, you mentioned Aisha, a lot about core. I think Nerijus, you spoke partially about what you consider as a core, talking about the environment, talking about being needs-based, following needs of young people. But maybe just back question to you: what's the core for you? And also in relation to that, now when you look back this period, especially since pandemic and so last 2 years, let's say roughly, when there's more experience with youth work in digital world, so where do you see challenges? Where do you see opportunities? So what's core for you, and what are we learning from this period in terms of challenges and opportunities for digital youth?
For me, I have my voice back. Thank you very much. I think for me, the most core is non-formal education and what it can bring, critical thinking. I come from a tradition of non-formal education, especially critical pedagogy. If you know Freire from Brazil, formulated ways of working with people through education to reach their empowerment, emancipation, and critical thinking. So that's what I got experienced as a young person when joining youth work and non-formal education in Lithuania. I kept moving forward, and one of the things what I did in my master thesis was looking at critical media literacy. And that was the core which I took from my studies. And I think till now, when I engage with any type of technology, media, and so on, I ask myself and I try to find out what is behind that media technology, what it is bringing to us as humans, what can we do with it, and where does it dehumanize us in a way, yeah? For example, one of the recent trends I started to follow, you know, most probably when designing software, you use user experience design, yeah? But there is a new trend which coming, which says we should focus on human-centered design. So bringing back human, not a user, human inside. And human is more complex in many ways, yeah? So for me, I think youth work brings a lot of complexity. We don't take it things simply. We spend hours and hours trying to reflect, understand, share, come back, change our points of view. And I think this is really necessary and possible when we approach the media and digital technology. If we just let it flow without stopping, without reflection, without trying out, without posing difficult questions, I think the technology will simply consume us. And we see a lot how much time is gone when we use certain media and technology. And we often say, I cannot stop checking my phone notifications. I think you can, you just switch it off. That's it, yeah? So I think bringing complexity, reflection, and ability to cope with that kind of diverse environments, I would call it.
Yeah, but if you would point maybe a few things in this last period that you would consider as some things you mentioned already, what's challenging, who controls the environment, but perhaps maybe is there anything else that you found out in last years that you would consider as challenges?
Good. I missed the point of pandemic because for me, even before pandemic, the same questions were relevant. So for me, pandemic, it was just acceleration of what we were maybe speaking and exploring in different events around digital youth work. Pandemic made it fast, rapid, and urgent in a way for youth workers to transform ourselves, for trainers, facilitators found meaning in what we do. So I think one of the challenging parts was in youth work, in non-formal education, in training, we as humans, we are instruments of our trade, if you think, yeah? So our body, our voice, our mind, our soul, that's who we are. Then we are in front of a group or individuals, and that's how we use ourselves as instruments, if I may say. But then suddenly technology creates a new dimension of us. For example, when I create a script for video, it will live on its own independent life. Someone will watch, someone will interpret it in ways. I cannot have so easy maybe dialogue and relationship with someone who will be impacted by my creations of myself. So I think that's something what is challenging for many youth workers, trainers, and facilitators to understand that actually in digital environments, we can be more of us in different formats, in different medias. I saw great achievements in our sector when we start to do podcasts, we start to do videos, we start to do websites, blogs, I know groups where people start to exchange resources and so on. And I think that's extension of us and our capabilities when we are meeting in person. So that could be one of the things I want to stress a lot.
Ajsa, you spoke a lot about your engagement in civic activism, and I know you've been also working on the update of the ETS competence model for youth workers, adding this so-called 9th area about civic competencies, civically engaged competencies. So if you consider now working in a digital environment, what are challenges there for, let's say, this, exactly for that, for this kind of civic and political dimension of youth work? Or what are the opportunities exactly on the other side to work on this aspect of youth work?
Yeah. Let me start from this, that if in the core of youth work for each one of us, for you, is to bring up the civic engagement of young people, then it will be transferred in the digital world. This is my belief. If it's not, then it will not just be translated there. So in a sense, I think it really depends on what is the starting point, where we are starting from, and then again the digital or the online environment is just another environment. I think the big problem here is that there is kind of lack of focus on this. You might already be wondering, like, what the hell is she talking about? So civic, political, it's not our role. We are not political as youth workers. We shouldn't be, because then, somebody might feel excluded or whatever. And I think that's really something where we are missing the point of, Nerijus was talking about now, how digital is extension, or our products there are extension of our work. And I think our political agency and our deeds outside of the youth work club or outside of the non-formal education room are also extension of ourselves, and are also talking about our values and what we believe in, and what kind of world we would like to see. So in that sense, I would really like that we see the developments also in the European level, but also in the local and national, that this aspect of youth work is a bit more strengthened, so that this project-focused, fragmented youth work is killing in that sense. In that sense is the core endangered in my mind, rather than with the move to digital. And again, I'm not as expert in digital. I completely agree with what Nerijus is saying, that there might be dangers by who is bringing platforms for us there, how they are handled. And I think then youth work might have the role to look into different topics. That this is one of the questions that I was asking, and I'm asking myself, which are the topics that are being induced by digital? For instance, we are living now in the misinformation world, or disinformation world, and can we navigate it? Can we support young people to navigate it? If we are talking about that, then we are living also in the very bubble culture digitally, right? And there is the algorithm nature. And okay, I was studying computer programming, but now I don't know how to tackle that algorithm nature apart from switching off, as Nerijus was saying. So can we as youth workers do something at least to raise awareness, or to challenge that nature? Not to talk about the even all these topics around privacy, data protection, which also for young people today seem to be irrelevant. They don't find it that relevant, in my experience, as for instance my generation would find it relevant. I know I'm switching off Google tracking, like this how is it called now? The system where they know where am I and which photo I'm taking. I'm switching it off, and like my kids are only looking like, what, why? And I'm like, I don't want them to know. And like, who is them? I don't know. But that's this thing. For me that's important. But for young people today, they're like, everything is out there. And am I the one to say like, no, you should protect your data or whatever, or should we open these discussions? And just one more, because I think that's really important in this digitally induced. I think and now you can take this as controversial if you want. I think the space for us, for young people, us, but yeah, in the core, for young people, the space for revolution, for kind of really making a difference, has shrinked, also because of digital. And this thing of being distracted is one element, what Nerijus was talking about, being distracted because there is so many things coming your way, and like, and then this usual mantra that young people are not interested. But also, I think we should look a little bit into ourselves, and as youth work, what kind of frameworks are we creating which are more or less pacifying young people, if you want, you know? And this is where I think there is something that we should check, right? If the digital could be opportunity to have this critical thinking and to have this space for rebellion of young people.
So as Nerijus was saying, maybe to bring critical pedagogy not only to youth workers themselves, but to young people, following the opportunities there. Nerijus, you mentioned in one of your questions around, because this could be seen as very black and white question, like either or, either you're pro or cons or against. But in one of your questions, you said something around how do our attitudes influence our choices for or against digital youth work. So do you see something changing there in the field, or what's your reflection around that? I mean, how youth workers find suitable this shift to digital world, or is it 100% shift? So what's your reflection on that?
Yeah, I think one good thing to do is to look for research data on how attitudes of youth workers towards digital youth work are shifting, because I have no such data like on scale of research. But I think Verke is doing quite good work in Finland. We developed methodology of researching digital readiness of youth work to embrace, practice digital youth work. I think there is great methodology, research methodology at municipal level, which you can apply or country level. That would measure quite nicely shifts if it would be implemented at some period of time. Yeah, they do it in Finland. Maybe already third report we are releasing this year, I think. But I think what is interesting for me is to understand that digital youth work attracts participants, youth workers to trainings for sure. So if you have something around digital, if you have more kind of attractive things like gaming, digital gaming, virtual reality or so, you would never be short of participants. But if you have more serious topics like reflection in youth work, you will have hard time to reach enough participants. So for me, sometimes I kind of wonder, I want to have a lot of reflection about digital media and technology because it's necessary in our work. We are reflective practitioners, if you want, yeah? So I think definitely it is developing and changing to more people engaging with digital work, and hopefully it will stay. I really now, when I see what we gained through pandemic, in some youth centers, people transformed their services, and now the biggest question, do we sustain what we achieved throughout the pandemic by reaching to some groups of young people who were previously not coming physically in our center, but they were keen on meeting online. I have a great example now from Ireland, where during pandemic, they had more time, and that was interesting. They found more time and luckily some resources to start experimenting with virtual reality, which proven to be successful with reaching out to specific groups of young people across country in Ireland without depriving them youth work services, which normally in smaller communities might not be accessible. So now we're already thinking about how to scale that to Europe and reach out to more young people and partners across Europe. So I think that depending how you experience pandemic and how you took that as a challenge, as an opportunity, I saw some young people and met some young people who were tired of being online because school was requiring to do formal education online in a formal method. So for me, we lost uniqueness in terms of digital. Previously, we could attract also young people by saying you will be allowed to use smartphone on exploring whatever learning, yeah. But when school took over, sorry, but they did really crap job in terms of engagement. So when many young people got tired of online, and when youth workers were saying young people don't show up in our club online. So again, I think it's very similar what I observe across years, that often we need to deal with consequences brought to other sectors, by other sectors, yeah, be it economy, be it formal education, and so on. And when we just say, yes, we'll cope with that, we will find out creative ways to engage with young people again and again. So I think sometimes for youth workers, it was tough time to reinvent ourselves. And I saw differences in terms of youth work is a professional service paid by government, or it's more NGO-led activity, where I think in countries where youth work is really paid and secured, many youth workers went on social benefits, being not able to work with young people, so they shut down youth centers, and they could really do more learning, studying, maybe reinventing services, while for some people from NGO sector, it was a survival mode, a harsh survival mode. I think packages from Europe were helping businesses, but I'm not sure how much we were really bringing civil society with capacity to deal with challenges. Yeah, so I could bring more of challenges, but I'm looking forward to talk about solutions as well.
We will have a few more questions for you, then we will shift to the Mentimeter, so I hope you have your code ready. So, exactly like that, like if you look at the role of youth work changing, I don't know how, from the perspective you're looking at now, not only through challenges, but also maybe also through opportunities. Do you see any impact on the role of youth worker nowadays with more and more digital?
I'm conservative in that sense. let's put it like that. I think yesterday when you had a panel of young people here, I might mispronounce the name. I think Rama was it, who said, just be there. And that really resonated with me. That's the youth worker's role, to just be there for a young person. You saw what I put in my core is like partnering with the young people and supporting them. And I think in that sense, I'm conservative that is not changing. That is the core, and that's that cannot be taken away. Let's say from youth work in whatever kind of extraordinary situation. And even with Nerijus, what you are mentioning with this thing of are they paid youth workers? Are they paid by structures and a bit more secure, or those who are struggling to find funds for the work? And of course there are difficulties in each, right? But I think the element there of innovation for me is to really figure out what is innovation for the specific young person, like 1 or 99 of those, or what was being said, but like really to be there for them and to kind of figure out what kind of support is needed. And if that means that I need to learn, I was learning about Instagram, for instance. This is personal, embarrassing story. I was learning about Instagram through my youth group that I was engaging at that time, because that was where they were at the time. So, in a way, I could have said, no, we are working in this way, you need to come to the place, you need to, or just do what they needed. And I think this is not compromising. I really think this is important that we understand. This is not compromising. This is not saying we from Generation X are the right, saying that this is the most meaningful relation that you will have if it is face-to-face. Because that's true for me. But for Generation Alpha, which is today our young people, I don't think they have this dichotomy in them, like my digital world and my real world. We are using the word real, and I don't think that's for them. That's their world. It kind of integrated all those aspects, and in that sense, I think there is really a kind of difference. If you look in the past, the youth workers in the past couldn't miss too much because the technological advance wasn't that big and that fast. But today, I think we can really miss what's the current moment and what are really the needs of young people and where really young people are, and like how to support them. But coming back to the conservative part of what I'm saying, some things are not changing, like uncertainty while growing up, dilemmas while growing up, meeting challenges on the way, not finding support. This is why we are there. Now learning how to provide it in the technological advancement, in the different world that we are living in that is changing constantly, this is just putting more burden on ourselves, but I would say as youth workers we are also used to that. I'm talking about this resilient nature of youth work, and I think that's not to say, yes, just put everything on us, but really to recognize that, yes, we do have strength and we do have awareness, kind of sensitivity of the needs, and we do have enthusiasm to actually adapt to what needs to happen, because we believe in the core that we need to core work that we need to provide.
Yes. Good. We have lots of questions coming to Menti. Maybe before we go to Menti, just one question maybe to Nerijus. Nerijus, you mentioned also the word digital transformation when we spoke in the preparation. So maybe a quick question for you would be maybe referring to what Ajsa was saying before. She asked the question, is innovation burden or a necessity? But to rephrase it a little bit, sometimes we make equal sign between innovation and digitalization. Probably it's much more than that. So question to you would be, what kind of innovation or what kind of transformation is needed in youth work today?
Yeah. I would maybe remind ourselves that we are always proud to be the most responsive sector, and then we always compare to other sectors, education, work, world, and so on. I think if we take away the word digital from transformation, I think youth organizations, youth work organizations, trainers and training organizations, we are often looking for something new, strange, different, following trends, and for me I think it's valid when it comes to digital transformation. Yeah, just so I'm wondering why when we add to transformation, which is very common for our sector, when we add digital, suddenly we have very diverse opinions. One saying we should not lose who we are because digital is kind of threat. Others say no, we need to be fast with adopting digital solutions because we will stay not relevant to young people. Yeah. So why, just a question, why digital suddenly divides the room in a way, yeah? I think in terms of transformation, what is needed, if you think of your 24 hours, yeah, that's how much time we have, yeah? Where do we put our attention? Very often it's our work, our family, our friends, free time a bit and so on. Then often we dedicate quite some time reading some articles, often useless articles, if I may say, from portals, news portals and so on. So why not to replace this useless reading of useless article, what famous politician said about famous stuff, or in famous celebrity was, again, losing a dog somewhere, yeah? Why don't you consciously choose to follow and read articles about digital transformation? Just replace one by one reading of useless article to maybe something about digital transformation. Yeah, if digital is still allergy to you, just choose about trends. There are a lot of good articles how we as humans beings, society, planet are evolving, changing, and so on. Not even talking about digital. Yeah, but just replace a useless thing with maybe something more scientific based and maybe something about trends to the future. Yeah, so that would be one thing which is needed for transformation. I think being curious, a bit open, a bit receptive to different new ideas, and not dismissing them by saying I'm skeptical, without even trying out. I like what Ajsa was saying about action, being action oriented. I say before you judge anything, do it for a while. And for digital youth work, I think you need to do for a couple of years before you have an informed opinion, wherever it works or not, with specific groups of young people, with your center or your organization. I think if one time you tried a tool, digital tool, and it didn't work or people didn't respond it, you need to have a culture built around that. And for example, in the digital transformation of organizations, youth work organization, one of the important aspects is to create the culture, which is open for innovation, open for failures, for experimentation. So if by trying something once, you don't feel comfortable, most likely you will not use it again. But you need for digital youth work, you need years to accomplish something, yeah? To see certain results, certain change you can create, yeah? So I think culture, organizational culture should change to some extent, yeah? I think resources would be one of the other important things to ensure that transformation is not based on individual only, whereas a great youth worker who went on some training and decided digital youth work is for their organization, came home, and then nobody is supporting, there are no resources, you need to do yourself and need the equipment and so on. I think that's where digital transformation is also needed in terms of priorities. What kind of priorities we set for organizations? Do we include any digital in our mission and objectives of organization? Yeah. And maybe the last element I would like to mention, its importance of including young people. I'm not a big fan of generations, X, Y, Z. I think we are running out of alphabet letters for new generations. And I think it's a little bit stigmatic in a way to put people into generation. Yeah. So for me, I would try to break that barrier by reverse roles, where young people lead digital transformation in youth work organizations. Let them be, let them do, and then you enjoy. Of course, things will be not comfortable, maybe if you're not accustomed to certain things, yeah. But definitely it will bring to the table conversations about what we are doing, why we are doing, and how we are doing.
Let's see what we have a Menti. Probably the questions exploded, but at least some of them we can tackle. Lamas, if you can see them on the screen here in front, because I don't have my phone with me. Okay. Well, interesting question. There was voted a lot, 15 times. It says, do we really have to label youth work using digital opportunities as digital youth work? I've never heard of sport youth work or outdoor youth work, but of such tools and methodology. So do we actually have to label it this way?
I mean, whatever helps you to come to the young people and their needs. I don't think labeling helps usually. I think youth work is all-encompassing, and for me, digital is another environment and tools to be used. But maybe Nerijus would answer this more with his expertise. Yes. No?
What's your point, Nerijus, on this?
I think when we had a conversation where our European training competence model should have a standalone area for digital competence or not, I was very much in favor of having it standalone because it makes the point for time being. Just paying attention. I think it made a very great point when pandemic started because most of the other forms were kind of diminished or reduced because of not possible to do. And when digital competence became critical in carrying out youth work, training, non-formal education. So for me, but nowadays I'm okay to hide it inside somewhere and be like that. That's okay. It's choices we make. I think it's not right saying that we don't have labels for outdoor work. We have experiential learning, outdoor education, and if you put outdoor education in the title of the training, you will have again a lot of youth workers signing up. So I think labeling certain things we do, we practice, and I think the question itself a bit sounds strange. I think it's part of the time and momentum where we live, where we are in transition, at least for youth work, where it becomes so natural, like what Ajsa was telling for young people, where there's no distinction between real and virtual worlds. I think we will eventually forget that it used to be non-digital youth work, yeah? But for time being, I think it's right, it's good, and it's needed.
Should we raise awareness about digital healthy lifestyles among young people to tackle distractions and overwhelming routines? Where and how? So the question of digital healthy lifestyles, yeah?
I would say absolutely, but also starting from ourselves. and again, this is the issue of power for me, and maybe I will share something too personal, but also as a parent, I'm finding myself in a situation where I think I know the best for the children and how much they should spend on time on telephone or on other screens, and then I am doing completely different thing, you know. So in a sense, I would say it relates, because sometimes, this is not what I want to promote, but sometimes youth workers have this power over young people that, you know, we are not completely conscious about, and then whatever is coming from us, it might be coming also from a kind of authority position. And in that sense, I think I mean, this is one of the topics, but on any, but if we are to promote digital health, it needs to start by example and from ourselves. We need to be aware of that, and then to be able to support anyone having, you know, dilemma around that or difficulty to figure out what would work best for them. And again, you know, I would really just go into this humble position of how can I be sure that I know what's the digital health for them. I can understand distraction, I can see it in our interactions, but, you know, I don't know if it is good that they are 10 hours online or that it's bad. I mean, we really don't know, because we don't know how the world will be developing, what will be even more important, what skills they are developing there, and etc. So I'm not saying going into extremes and just letting go, but kind of mindfully checking, and again, partnering with young people and figuring out what makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe we go further with questions, maybe something else for Nerijus. Nerijus, this is perfect for you. What is the difference between digital youth work and e-learning?
Okay, I need to
It's an
put my
exam
mother's
question.
glasses.
You must know the answer.
Let me think.
Probably glasses, mothers or grandmothers' glasses help.
Yeah, I would say that digital youth work or digital activities might be more diverse than just e-learning. I think the word e-learning, it's so old construct. I think E stands for electronic learning. So yeah, when you use electricity, maybe when you learn something, yeah. So even reading a book under the lamp could be called e-learning, yeah. But I think when we talk about digital youth work, we talk about variety of themes, topics, and expressions of activities. Yeah, I would stress that. For example, in many activities, you could, for example, include a bit of electronic learning in terms of constructing some small robots and then programming what we can do. But you can also look at your phone and try to program your phone. I mean, just change settings. Yeah, I think that is relevant for social media. If you change a bit settings, certain things might change what you see in a way. Yeah. So for me, e-learning, it's one of the things you can do. Process. It has own methodologies and traditions, but I think digital youth work, it's really much more diverse in many respects.
A lot. Let's see the next question. If tomorrow, as a magic, digital world disappear, what will miss in our youth work? Maybe Ajsa, you start.
Yeah, I think Harare was saying, I was reading this, that the next pandemic that might come, I mean, the next big disruption that might come, which might really shake our core, is exactly that one. If, you know, there is no access to either electricity or just to internet and the kind of digital work, and then we would see, you know, how much we are both dependent, but then also, you know, how much we are living something different, because now in the pandemic, we still remained connected, right? We couldn't move from our homes, but we still remained connected through the internet and through the devices. So with that dilemma, and I'm always thinking, you know, like if there is a sun flare, I'm also a fan of science fiction areas. If, you know, there is something happening that, you know, everything is erased from what we are working on, from what we are developing digitally, etc. So for times I was finding myself with a lot of things also in physical form, but then it was just becoming too much, keeping from different trainings. I don't know. I mean, I think the question is not asked, let's say, in a way that is helpful. Can I put it like that? I don't know who is asking the question, but I would put it like that. I think the youth work with, you know, regardless of what's this added word, is it digital, is it outdoor, is it sports, is it reflection youth work, is it action youth work, is it, you know, detached, or, I mean, whatever you add there, it's just, it is youth work. If one person needs that I connect to them through digital means, then for that one person, you know, the world is lost, right? And that connection is lost, and this core of interaction and support and empathy and, you know, all the things that young people were mentioning yesterday is lost. So in that sense, for those young people to whom we connect only through these means, I would say, yes, the world would be lost in a way. But with that said, I need to add this, and sorry if I'm taking too much time. I think what we need to keep reminding ourselves is how much youth work is resilient. So even if this magic would happen, you know, I'm sure we would go back into finding another way to connect with that with those young people. And I think that's the superpower of youth work, even though I don't want us to be superheroes, but just, you know, to be aware that we do have this resilience, adaptability, flexibility, that we can actually switch and find ways to be there for those young people, as we did now. No?
Thank you. Let's see one more. I'm sure, Nerijus, you had a lot of things to say on this one, but let's see more. How can we get in contact with the gamers and get them interested in social political topics and analog youth activities? And Nerijus, that's for you. How can we get in
For me,
contact?
I'm not the most expert on gaming, but we had in the last Digital Future seminar a person who was really good in gaming, involved in gaming culture and communities, and I think it's spending a lot of time and becoming really integrated but fully aware what you are doing in terms of reaching out to gamers. Yeah, because I think what I got from the presentation back then, that it's one of the tough groups to reach out because of their own way of functioning, working, collaborating, accepting, not accepting outsiders, and so on. It's not easy. However, for example, I saw already pre-pandemic times a lot of good examples across Europe where youth centers were installing professional gaming equipment to ensure that young people who show up and stay in youth centers, they also, through interaction with youth workers, through interaction with their peers, they learn more things, different things, I would say, not more, different things about the world. And I think that's what you can do to engage. Maybe the core gamers would never show up in youth center, but some young people who are curious, they have their good PlayStation or another game console, really good one at home. At least what I heard from youth workers working in such youth centers, they say they really want and need to socialize. So the need of socializing is still there. I think game platforms allow a lot to do that through remote connections, but still it's possible to have it in person if that's what a youth work center wants to do in a way.
You want to add something?
Yes, again, to comment on the question, I think the first part is perfect. So how can we engage the gamers and get them interested in social and political topics? That's it. Why would we grab them from their environment, from the way in which they are socializing, interacting, you know, developing their skills, and bring them to our analog, perfect for reflection world? I mean, I think this is really, I'm now caricaturing a little bit, but I think this is really the questions that we need to ask differently. So if the gaming is big among young people, we need to figure out who are the youth workers among those young people, or who have this potential and this interest, and just support them to do it in their environment, and that's it. If they express interest to meet in analog ways, perfect, why not? But, you know, I wouldn't go with the premise that, you know, the only proper right youth work is happening here, so come please from this playing, gaming, and whatever, come to this proper and serious youth work. So it's really, I think we need to change our mindset, and I think on the first day from this study, where it was mentioned that, you know, it's not only education of youth workers, but it's the changing of the mindset. Like, we need to innovation mindset, and that might be, you know, not not a big thing, but really how can I ask this question differently? What am I asking actually by this, right? What do I want by this? You know, I want things to be back to where I feel comfortable. I know to play board games. I don't know to play, you know, online games. But, you know, why should I drag others to play board games if they are into those, you know? So I really think we should question our questions.
Meet young people where they are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
And
would
one
like
more
also
question.
to add-
Yes. Say.
Yeah, I think it's easy. We just need to make the political process and political participation as a game. And I think in future, like 20, 30, 40 years ahead, we will play games where we will participate so naturally that that's it. We don't need to think in a way. Yeah, that maybe could happen in some future scenario.
Some countries' political process is a game, but that's another story.
Okay. So one more question, then we will do a bit of old school reflection as well. So in my youth help center, there are several children with severe symptoms of media addictions. How is it possible to work with them in the digital world? I think we touched upon a bit. And maybe Nerijus, you want to share maybe on some ideas around that? So
Yeah.
media addictions.
I think if it is already required specialized professional support, I think at Youth Center, one of the missions we signpost young people to social partners, and that's one of the jobs we do. For example, if you don't have qualified psychologists, psychotherapists in your youth center, I suggest not to enter into this role if you feel. But again, based on what it's a severe addiction, I think that's another thing to maybe reflect a bit what it means severe addiction in terms of using social media or technology. But if you feel your center is not capable to cope with that, I think that's one thing to address to professionals around you. And we need to have already professionals who are dealing with media addiction as any type of addictions, I would say. Yeah.
No, maybe just one thing there. I think young people are telling us what they need. If you remember these 2 years, I mean, first they wanted things online, and it was amazing for them to connect from home and like feel this is cool. But then they just needed to switch off and come back to the youth clubs. I mean, I think many organizations were sharing this experience that this is what was happening. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't force somebody who, if this is, as Nerijus is saying, if this is really determined that they are addicted to media or to the online, I wouldn't force them then to the digital, again, environment for learning opportunities, but really follow what are their needs. But this is where, again, I mean, I may be boring with this, but, partnering with young people, it's crucial. It's really asking these questions. So what do you need? What do you want? And sometimes they don't know the answer, but, kind of staying there and not assuming that we know the best. I think that's the most that we can do. And of course, if it goes beyond in this idea, not trying to be superheroes, but engaging other professionals, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, Nerijus. Thanks a lot, Ajsa. There was a lot of inputs for further thinking. For sure, we didn't close the topic fully, but probably addressed many other, many open questions around the core, around the digital world. Is there a digital world? Are the worlds divided? Can we speak about different generations in a more boxed way? What's the mindset needed? How to experience something before judging it, as Nerijus said, and so on and so on. So we will, maybe a big applause for two of you first. So coming back to the old school reflection that makes us learn and think, we will ask you, just as you sit, just to turn to your neighbors for 10 minutes and just to reflect with your neighbors about what are you taking from this intervention that we had from Nerijus and Ajsa. So what are you taking? What are your thoughts? What are your questions, insights? And the Menti code is the same, so please share it with the rest of us so we can also learn from each of you. So 10 minutes, you don't leave yet the room. The coffee break is not there yet. 10 minutes for reflection. Thanks. I need to just jump in.
Okay, I don't know if I need to come back after reflection, if I will.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you and good morning. By the way, I haven't seen you today. How are you? I heard there was a substitute somewhere here. Not sure I like that idea. Can I have your attention for a minute? All right. So, before we go to coffee break, just a few announcements. Just gathering everybody's energy. All right. So, few announcements that the team wants to let you know of. First of all, we still have our media wall, so whenever you post online, remember to put our hashtag and pick on it. There's some nice pictures coming up there, so it's also nice for us to kind of remember what's going on and stay connected. Second thing, we're going to have coffee break, and in half an hour we start 3 different forums. So there's only 3 forums, which means that there might be a lot of people in some forums, so don't get late, okay? Track your time, and at 11:30 we start on the forums. Also, during the coffee break, there's a little bit of a playground. So there's a few activities here to spur your creativity, maybe to question yourself, non-formal education, so enjoy it. And after lunch, we're not going to have another round of forums like yesterday. After lunch, we meet here at 2:30, all right? And then we have our tribes, and tonight, there's a DJ and a party. Okay, thank you. Enjoy your coffee break.